Holy shit, it's Ghoulin time. Mo is back and his setup is actually even better. Wow. I was going to talk about, it's really unfortunate to see a really good set of RNG be lost to a restart, but Mo has 2 gens in the mid-map, 4 gens on the top side if you include 3, both his totems up there as well, and a lot of weak fillers around all of that, so Mo definitely in his best interest to have played around the top side this time, and I don't think he's really going to complain about what he lost with what he has now, and definitely in his favor as well will be this early tag onto Lorraine. Yet again, the man of the hour, he has entered his chase at 6, and Mo will most likely be dropping it. We mentioned that he does have this Ruin Undying Thana. It's all in combination. Speaking of Undying, that totem at 11 has alerted us to the position of one of our survivors, and Mo will be in hot pursuit heading back to main, seeing nobody on his Undying, so we'll be able to take his chase freely, and it's up to him now to interrupt whoever may be here. I believe this is LZY. Yep, they're going to, unfortunately, not get tagged, but the Kagune mark will come on out, and that will secure another few moments of infection. LZY will take that M1 tag around and now have to play main building, but Mo with the bounds will try to cut off LZY. He fakes the vault, and that does give him some safety. The infamous vault that Mo has been juiced on before by Gunther, but no, this time LZY could not replicate that performance. LZY will be the first hook right in this 4-gen on a hill hook that's also a pain res. I mean, Mo really couldn't ask for a better start. We saw that this gen at 10 has been pain res. We know that somebody has to be close by. The stealth may be found out, and the rail was reset, most likely on the bottom side. So survivors now, whoever may be here at 10 needs to be very, very careful. Getting caught out right next to this unhook, giving away a free tag, especially on top of the gen that you were working, could prove to be game losing. So the stealth needs to be effective, and so far it has been Mo, searching all the way towards 11. Unable to find whatever survivor is lurking around. Can we get a quick flick around very quickly, Mr. Spectator Man, just to see where that survivor may have gone? I'm sure. Yeah, we see 3Ho and Lorraine are 2 survivors who reset on the bottom side. Potential our survivor top here, so close. Just positioned nicely towards that mid-map for that unhook. Just on a rock, actually. We can see it right now. Mo is staring directly at it. If only he could see. Unfortunately, this time Mo does not know that potential will be right under his nose, and as Mo continues to look, he knows, once again, that somebody close enough and will try to get the bark. He does that exactly. Potential will be tagged. The trade will come on out. There's going to be a down onto him, and potentially another pain res, because, yeah, you don't really want to give up this hook for free. It's such a strong hook, and exactly that, trading one for another, realistically, it's still in his best interest. And Mo, I think, recognizes that our other survivors in the trial are just on the bottom side of the map, splitting those gens, and that gives us a lot of time to continue our chase onto LZY. He's stuck yet again on this main filler. The movement of Mo does come on out. He tries to fake the vault, cancelling the drop from LZY, but no. Instead, he will win the stun, and that gives him distance into main building. Now Mo, trying to cut off the unhook. He does exactly that. 3Ho caught out, trying to get to this hill, and will take a tag, heading back to the bottom now as he needs to ensure that he is not downed around this hook. And LZY still stuck at main. Our final survivor, Lorraine, revealed by Undying and that generator pop. Mo is aware of the position of every survivor on the board. The only one that realistically can come in safely for a save is still at 7. That gives Mo the time he needs to be able to commit to a chase. He's trying to bait out the dead hard, but instead LZY takes the medium vault, and that will spell his end. A second hook onto LZY, which will be all the way back main. Very hard to get him out of these gens, and 3Ho still injured. Potential another survivor. Fortunately, our only healthy one caught out entirely by Undying, so that's going to be every survivor in the trial injured. 4 generators, LCY potentially dead on hook for his final chase, and somebody needs to be sending it for that unhook. A death onto Lorraine here in the mid-map would be just as troublesome, but Mo will be able to play around this jungle gym with his bounds. He's going to try and zip around, but the double vault does come out. That buys Lorraine some distance. We tried to cut him off from the pallet, but Lorraine had other plans. The window in this RNL was his preferred option, and that gives him some distance back to the jungle gym. And now Mo forced to leave as LZY is finally off that hook. His chase will be paramount. It will decide how this game goes. We see him on the backside of main. Mo's not even interested. Potential has decided to hole himself, and that will be him on the ground. Slug comes on out. LZY is rotated towards one. He actually hasn't even done that. He's still on the back of main, spotted out entirely. We make it just barely to this pallet. The swing out does not come on through, and that means LZY will live for another couple of moments. The blind buys him some extra distance as he ventures towards 10. We only have this fillet to play, and Mo will do his damnedest to get the down right here and now. We try to use the bounce to cut him off, but with the pallet still up, we effectively just do not much. A second gen in the background has popped, but it's another gen on the bottom side, and for Mo now, that's not of any concern. Our gens are still top heavy. We still have LZY potentially dead at 3. We're going to not win that final 50, so Mo will put LZY on the ground. That's our tunnel out secured. Thana also eating away at our progress. It's made us work so much slower this entire time. Only now are we not being affected by the full 20% as 3-Ho has been reset, but on that totem, he is right under the nose of Mo. Mo hasn't spotted him out just yet, but the totem is now gone. That's Undying out of the trial. Ruin and Thana, our slowdown, still in full effect as Potential taking chase right on top of that totem here at 1. The block for that pallet prompt has not come out, and that does give Potential access to the window at main. But with no pallet connecting and this door broken, I don't think that's all too safe of an option. Fortunately, Mo is out of Enrage, meaning he is that little bit slower, and the only thing we do have left is this side main pallet. Once it is dropped, it is quite unsafe, but we're going to be able to make it around just in time with Potential using his Dead Hard to safely make his way to top mid. Once again, it's in his best interest to make it away. We take the bite that gives Mo back his Enrage, and we look to our gens. Potential now needs to be very, very careful, because if he dies once again in these gens, it would spell problems. We can't unhook him if he's all the way back main. The other two survivors are just trying to split the pressure as much as possible for any chase they can get. 3-Ho here at 10 will be discovered, takes a tag, and will venture to the bottom side of the rail. We did see on that bottom mid gen as well, he would need to be very, very careful. But the two survivors being on the bottom side, I think it's in Mo's best interest to venture towards this potential reset, interrupt this gen with Ruin, and yeah, exactly that. L'Oreal caught out now will make his distance to Shaq, and with the pallet still here, he will be safe for a couple of moments. 3-Ho will need to mend, but could potentially play to wrap that gen bottom mid. It's more than likely we'll see it pop, and that does mean a 4K2 could be an ideal result. But Mo, still in his best interest to pressure these survivors, trying to play around this Godfiller at 7. Fortunately for him, the greed, it comes on out right at the wrong time, and that gives L'Oreal access to the window at Shaq. And back to 7, he will go. Pallet still up, meaning he has more than enough time to play around it safely. He will greed yet again, sending it around. He'll make this once more, and for Mo, this chase has probably gone on longer than he would have liked. L'Oreal doing his damnedest to ensure that they can pop a generator, at least one, for this chase. The stun comes on out some nods to notify that L'Oreal is proud of his own work, and Mo might need to consider dropping this. His Enrage is over. L'Oreal wins yet another 50. The 50 this time will not be lost by L'Oreal, and yeah, with that gen being popped, it's notified Mo, hey, I've wasted too much time here. I need to go back to my gens. I can lose bot mid, but I cannot lose 2, so over to main we go. Actually, it's the gen that we've seen being worked in 3 as well. Just had to check on that in the background, so no, we don't have too much else to worry about. We can take this chase at main and worry about Potential now. Have to make sure he can't get back on this gen, so committing is our only option. But the double at 3 is coming out. L'Oreal and 3-Ho are working that gen together. They only need Potential to last 40 seconds if he was to be committed, but Mo sniffs out that double from a mile away. He just knows, and because of that, L'Oreal, the man of the hour, once more will be in chase and has to do his best to last. Instead, actually, why last in chase when you can not be chased at all? The stealth comes on out, and that sends Mo back to main. Have to worry about Potential's position once more, and plays quite safely to the window, ensuring that once again Mo is in a sticky situation. The longer he wastes this time though of Potential and the survivors of Nyx, the more and more time he has to let Ruin regress this generator. But sticky situation is now, although we've managed to finally get the gens regressing, nobody on them. L'Oreal has been reset. I believe 3-Ho might have been clean breaked, and that's why he is broken. Potential though giving up an enraged tag. Mo back at full strength on the killer, and finally, unless this Z-wall results in him, never mind. We're not actually too stressed about that Z-wall chase. We want none of it yet again. We're worried about 3. I don't think Mo's realized that the gen pressure isn't as much as they were hoping, because 3-Ho has rotated for 10. As we can see, he's all the way edge, setting up for a 3rd generator, and that does mean L'Oreal, our healthy survivor, forced the bottom side away from 3. Cannot give up a tag now. It would spell some issues, and Mo needs to make his mind up. He's a bit in between what he wants to do. He gets the block on the pallet. That does mean Potential will be on the ground. He's not able to make it around, and that's exactly what we needed. A hook on the hill, exactly the favor Mo needs. And actually not going to take it, just hooking him all the way 1, ensuring, or 11 rather, ensuring that when he is unhooked, he's going to not be able to venture to the bottom side of the map. 3-Ho now running on over for the save. Lorraine forced off of 3. Mo in hot pursuit. Although, I think he's aware that somebody must rotate quick, and he's done exactly that. He's caught out the position of 3-Ho. He doesn't really mind. He's going to let Potential and 3-Ho do whatever they need and play for another infect on to the rail. Unfortunately, the tag does not come on out, but finally, my co-caster Ghosty has returned. Welcome back, my friend. We are currently in a bit of a stalemate. L'Oreal is going to get tagged through this window at 3, and you're watching over the game, so you don't need an explanation. I'm very glad. Was in a bit of a sticky situation. What do you make of it so far?
It could go either way. It's a very interesting position to be in. Obviously, having a death at 2 is definitely a position you want to be in as the killer by any means. And still having 2 fresh hooks with pain res on the board ready to be used as well. Definitely a good position to be in. And it looks like we are in this sort of like deadlock situation with most of our generators remaining being on that top side as well. But it also means that our survivors do have the entirety of the bot side to be able to take chase as well. So breaking this gen over on our 3 side would definitely be very beneficial for our survivors, and Lyrials is now our next chase on the 3 side. Already injured, which is a dangerous position to be in against a killer like Ghoul. Yes, is only an M1 killer, but with the mobility you have will make it difficult to get towards this bottom side of the map. But we do have a lot of this mid-section to get to play as well. Going for a quick little bite vault over the pallet to try and make distance, but decides that that is not a chase that we want to be committing to for too much longer. We really want to try and push for this 4K2, and with this loose 4-gen setup we have on our top side still, we're in a really good position with our generators to really hold this side of the map and just try and really secure this 4K2. Another beautiful bite onto one of our remaining death hooks with Potential, which is a dangerous spot for our survivors. We don't want to lose a survivor and be in a 2v1 situation with 2 generators remaining, as we are definitely going to be wanting to try and push for that 4K1 win con at least for our next upcoming survivor or killer player for next. But we're going to have to be very safe and play this quite slow. Sprint burst on Lyrial, although it gives them that distance to be able to make it back towards a bit of safety. And with only having this TNL set up at 3, we are playing 50s at a window, and unfortunately for Lyrial, it looks like that will be all that they wrote because we don't have really anything else to play for. I would expect to see a drag up towards a hopeful top side pain res, but we can also see the progress that Potential has put into the motor on, I believe that was main building. So we are at least getting progress on the board, but pain res will be disrupting a lot of that progress as well. And if Potential does get called out here on the corner 11 side of main, it could be wraps for our survivors. But with both survivors injured, it also makes the pull on Lyrial very, very dangerous. We do see our Sable coming in for the unhook, does get it, but unfortunately we'll be going down, so this will be a trade, and Sable is also one of our remaining pain reses as well. And look at this PR hook on the hill, Chief. This is a dire hook to be being put onto right in the center of all of our loose gen clusters on a hill as well. We also do spot Potential still lurking and trying to pressure that main generator. This could be where the tide turns, especially if Lyrial cannot last in this chase at 3. We do manage to get the bite vault over as well. We only have this window to play at 3, but we lose the 50 on it as the pull on to 3-Ho. Sable goes through from Potential, but unfortunately for Lyrial, they will not be able to make much more distance down to the bot side. We do also spot our Sable legging it all the way down towards our bot side, going to be taking our bite onto them to reset our Enraged and then try and make a jiggy to the bot side. But Mo's in a very comfortable position, does not need to take that sort of a chase. Just keep everyone injured and try and force our survivors to remain on this top side. And if Potential goes down here, this is a big, big problem for our survivors, especially with poor Sable being our last remaining survivor still injured as well. I don't believe we would have any reset or self-reset perks for her, so we're going to need to get a pick up on Lyrial, as we see does come through. Love a good old Caster's Curse. This is exactly what our survivors are needing. We need as many bodies on the board, especially with everyone being injured. Everything is sort of looking in most favor at the moment, Chief, but we could still see at least one more gem pop. But unfortunately, with a death, or with a potential death coming through shortly on our top side, 4K2 definitely looking on the table at the moment, especially with that Ruin still in play.
Yeah, I think this gen at 3 is probably going to have regressed to about 50%. We do hear it just... Oh, it's actually... Sorry, they were doubling that entire time, so the regression probably is not as much as it did once look like, and right now for our survivors, a slug of potential is a great threat, but at least does mean the 4K2 is not an all said and done conclusion, because Potential is still technically in the trial, but really won't feel like it for a long time unless he is our Unbreak survivor. Can we get a quick flick to see if he does have Unbreak? I don't know if Unbreak's actually allowed on this set. He's not. He is not our Unbreak survivor. Unfortunately, that does mean Potential will be on the ground for the rest of the trial. I think it might have been LGY, which is definitely quite unfortunate. I've just received a random ping from my bank that's just said a number. I don't know what that means. Sorry to interrupt you all, but yeah, just random string of numbers have been sent by my bank. That's concerning. Maybe I should look into that. But no, Potential. We'll need to look into getting picked up off the ground, whether by Mo or by his teammates. Mo has gotten to him first, and that will be him exiting the trial on a hook. The 2v1 occurring at 2 generators remaining. Lorraine and 3Ho will have to do their damnedest to try and pop one of these generators, and I don't know how much they're going to be able to do. Ruin has eaten away at these gens some more, and it is going to make popping any of them such a big problem. Lorraine stuck at 3 right on top of what might be the most progressed generator main, still with a little bit left, but I'm sure 3Ho won't be able to get it done in time, considering Lorraine is stuck on these TLs, and we do see Mo use the bound to catch on up. That would be Lorraine on the ground. A slug now can come out as we send it over to main. 3Ho was here. The gen is nothing but Sable, loud and angry when injured, and that does mean 3Ho's position is going to be quite easy to find on out. We're sprinting around on the inside of main as well. We need to do our damnedest to ensure that we do not get found if we want to stay in this match, and Lorraine actually apparently doing quite a good job of stealthing himself, but no. Mo finally locating his slug, gonna take the hook and try to secure his tried and true 4K2. At this point, 3Ho, the best they can do is try to stealth 4 Hatch, and I think this cross on the mid-map might be exactly that. But no, it looks like actually 3Ho is opting to play for the Paul Sable, though. Once again, loud has been heard by Mo, and towards the mid-map we will send it. The bite does not grab onto us in time. That means 3Ho will get the vault, and on top of that, his life distance, playing around another set of LTs in the mid-map, and to Shaq, potentially, as he tries to jiggy away. But no, stuck on this T side of the window. 2 vaults come on out, and that does buy him some distance away from Mo, who is in hot pursuit once more. This jungle gym still in the trial. We're going to try and drop the pallet to our best favor, and Mo will fake the swing with the ghoul, bounds, and this time tries to block the pallet to no avail once more. Instead, a vault will come on out. That gives 3Ho all the distance he needs. Unfortunately, don't think that will work out for him, as the check spot does mean we narrowly avoid a down as we greed the pallet, and Mo trying to play a mind game around this jungle pallet once more, using his bounds to cut off 3Ho instead this time. The double vault once more does buy him some safety, and the rail dying on this hook leaves 3Ho the last man standing. We don't swing at the pallet this time with 3Ho fakes, and that will put him on the ground. Mo finally putting an end to this trial of 4K2. All things considered, that was a very long match, but Mo proved yet again why you cannot be an experienced player. We've seen him in OSL across a wide berth of NEA teams. I believe he played on Lyricent in Season 4, was one of our grand finalists, although correct me if I'm wrong on that, someone will, I'm sure, and for now, he is here for Nyx on the Ghoul.
Now that we've thankfully seem to have gotten the correct map, we can actually get into the second game of our first set of the series. Potential, as mentioned, will be the killer for Nyx, trying to push for, at worst case, that 4K2, but needs that 4K3, if not, who knows, maybe even better. We could see a crazy 4K4 or 4K5. It could happen. Anything is possible in this lovely game we all love, definitely, and do not have moments of wanting to uninstall. Game of Dead by Daylight, but the pressure's definitely going to be getting added up over time. The mentals will be getting probably a bit messed with the small slip-ups and the having to fix things up, but we'll have to see what Potential has to bring to the table, and was, as you mentioned, too, as a grand finalist in previous seasons, could definitely put that result that Team Nyx need to move forward into our second set, take this set away from NCP. But as we mentioned, NCP picking this set, their survivor side will most likely be very well adept at this set, and it looks like we are having a very nice, slow stealthing start, while our survivors possibly try and cross down to our active generators. We do look to have that sort of 3-gen setup on our top side, so we are most likely 4-gen more towards the bottom side, unless we have that 3. Nope, we are 4-gen on that bot side, but all of those generators are open as well, and a bit unfortunate for Potential, since you would normally hope that you'd have that 4-gen on the corrupt side with just one of your 4-gens being not corrupted, and we've also caught out our first survivor for our initiating chase. Well, we need this to last, Chief. Like, we cannot have a short chase here if we are going to be pushing for a result like a 4K3 or above. But with main building, obviously, one of the strongest loops you can play on this map, immediately also throwing that God fill as well and trying to drop that firecracker to disorientate. And it looks like, unfortunately, we're not going to be having that really extended chase that we were probably looking at having to make that win con very much chill and achievable. That was a very nice down from potential. I'm starting to see the potential that you mentioned there, Chief. No pun intended. I'm sorry. I'm going to get my dad jokes out of here early and out the way. But a very nice first hook on, I believe that was our top side 3-gen, while we go down towards our bottom side to check up on our 4-gen. But overall, a relatively nice start for potential, Chief.
100%. We do also see an unbelievably quick unhook occur, which, to be fair, I don't think with the win con is the worst decision. Just allowing Drew to play out their chases and have two people actively always sitting gens is kind of in their best interest when 3 is the aim. And right now, I think potential might have gotten a bit. No, this is still Drew. Sorry, I was saying this might have been Alzarena Blazing Moon, but they have ventured probably back to the bottom side of the map, may get themselves reset and play for the unhook yet again, or just go and crank those motors with their friends Patch and Hurricane. But for now, Jua stuck at 11 on this filler, getting zoned all the way into the edge map. We will send it to the back of main bounds. Not in our hand just yet. Potential will only have the 2 of the non-enraged, and Jua able to nicely avoid the cutoff instead. Will end up downed after another couple of seconds, unable to make it to this pallet in main. We bait out the dead hard by not swinging, and Jua will, unfortunately, not get his effect. And for that, 2 gens have popped nonetheless. So, NCP, exactly where they need to be so far. 2 gens of 3 completed for 2 hook stages. Although, I will say, obviously, it is in NCP's interest to just play for the win. That's all you got to do, right? You just got to play to better the result. But we are still looking at a potential 4K from the position we are currently in, especially if Jua is quickly unhooked yet again and ends up getting down rather quick. This could result in a very decent result for potential, but tag onto Hurricane will prompt that unhook to occur even more than already is. I'm not too sure if Patch, our only healthy survivor, is rotated for that yet, because as we do see, Blazing Moon is here, and my oh my, that's a very quick reset. I'm not too sure if that's just resi speed. Does he? Why was he resetting him so quick? That was... Oh, maybe leader. Do you have leader? I didn't see that. Ghosty, you might be able to inform me in just a second.
Oh no, that wasn't.
He doesn't have anything.
Med kit
Medkit. Thinking, wow, we are observant of all the options. Regardless, the reset did not occur. Jua was instead FTP'd, and that will give him the distance and the health state he needs to make it towards the bottom side of this map. Obviously, that health state is now gone with the Kugune mark, and Jua will have to do his best to last around his RNG in the mid-map and bottom. And I think Potential knows that committing to this tunnel out isn't how he's going to win this game. Instead, Blazing Moon has been caught out here at 8. We do have the Serpent Tile, and unfortunately for us, we're not going to win that at all, so that will just be us on the ground.
And this is honestly a relatively good down as long as we can get to a pain res hook relatively quickly and lock in that second pain res of the trial as well. Unfortunately, losing that tunnel out on Ashura was a bit on the rough side, because I think having a tunnel out at 3 is what you're going to be needing to try and hold on to the 3-gen win condition at the moment. But nonetheless, that's another fresh hook onto the board, a second PR of the trial used. And if we do manage to find Ashura, this would be really good, but instead we've honestly managed to find Hurricane, which would be probably the next best option here if we decide to go for another pain res. But we're a bit concerned about our gen progress. I think we did hear some good progress on that generator down on the 9 side of the map, but not enough to be threatening it fully popping. No progress on this sort of mid-section gen as well, and it sounds like that gen over at 9 has basically gone back down to pretty much nothing. So Potential is slowly calling themselves back into this, I believe, Chief, and as well, if we do manage to get Ashura out of the trials well in front of, which unfortunately for our survivors of NCP, it looks like that is the case. A big swing through the pallet, but unfortunately it does not connect. If we get a really quick down here, this is a very good position to be in if we don't have crazy massive gem progress on the board, but we did see the pickup onto Hurricane early on, and that could lead to a potential double up on that gen over on the one side. And if we do pop that gen, I believe that is the win con secured for NCP. So we are going to have to try and make our way back up to this top side as quick as possible, but Enraged running out unfortunately means we don't have access to that third leap. So as much as it's cool and we are a very mobile killer, we don't have that full mobility that you get from being Enraged. But Patch now, sorry, I've had literally my brain decided to shut off for a second. Patch being caught off over on our 11 side does drop the pallets, so they're not going down. Everyone injured like we did see in the previous trial, which is a bit scary. It's definitely not something I would want to be in a position of myself, since this killer is just an M1 killer. Yes, you do lose that health state very quickly, but you definitely want to have at least that health state to play off of to then move forward. But Potential now pushing the pressure and turning the gas up to 11, slugging Patch on our 11 side, since we were concerned about this generator 1, as we did see Hurricane still cranking the motor as well and putting some good progress on that generator. Ruin did bite the dust, unfortunately, for Potential earlier on in the trial, but this is what we need. We need this slugging action happening, give our gen some kicks, spread our eruption that we've had saved in the bank, and if we keep this momentum up and get another slug happening, if we could actually secure this 4K3 that we are desperately trying to achieve at the moment.
Yeah, we really could, which seemed so unlikely, but Zhua just ended up exiting the trial in a rather unspectacular fashion, and that does put our survivors right now in a very awkward spot. Of course, they have 3 gens very highly progressed. To see Blazing Moon just trying to stick this one at 8, and unfortunately it's not paid off, so now being the final survivor in Chase, the Eruption Aura, we've 99'd our heals, or at least we have a health state to work around. We're going to have to send it for the pickup onto Potential here. Oh, sorry, Patch rather, and we're going to play for it. This is exactly a situation we saw last night from Rango, and that went so poorly for our survivors that time around, so I'm sure this time Potential is going to make sure that it can only go in his favor. He's done exactly that. Blazing Moon, once again, the only survivor on his feet, but now Hurricane and Blazing Moon as well. Blazing Moon stuck playing 50s, Hurricane rotating for the pickup, but we're deciding to chase the one on a resource and not the one in the middle of Narnia. Instead, now heading on back over to the Slug. We're going to take the pick onto Patch. This will be a pain res. I'm not too sure what the progress at 3 is looking like still, but they could double for this drag and get that gen to pop, but I don't think they're going to have the time. Potential instead dragging to the hook at 3. That's that pain res. I don't know what gen it's hit, but could have hit any of the generators currently on the board. 10, 2, 8, all of them so highly progressed, and the situation for Potential is still not out of the woods just yet. All it requires is an unhook under his nose. As Blazing Moon in chase now at main does have the pallet here to last on, and if he does last here, we could see this gen at 8 pop. We do see now Hurricane and Patch, I'm sure, rotating to just double that gen, relying on the fact that Blazing Moon has a strong enough setup here to do something, and with making the window, yeah, exactly that, we've gotten stuck on the pillar, but to the pallet we make once more, and now that we do have Bloodlust, I'm sure Potential is going to try and make this filler a bit more unsafe. BL2 now on the inside. We've lost pallet control. We swing around. We hit the rock. We're resetting, though. Patch and Hurricane have decided to reset. This chase was enough. If they had just hopped on that gen, they surely would have popped. But they've given Potential a leg back into this match once again. We're checking towards 11 just in case. We don't know where our other survivors are, but the gen at 11 here is already at only 70%. The one at 8, I'm sure, has regressed a bunch as well, having been hit by Eruption. Not too sure where our survivors are right now, but we obviously know Blazing Moon cannot be in action. He's slugged all the way at 1. I don't think he's got Unbreak on him, actually. Can we get a quick flick around just to see if he does, Mr. Streamer? He doesn't, but he has been picked. 3 survivors on their feet, 1 of them healthy. Our survivors are slowly but surely crawling their way back in, and in Blazing Moon's favor, of course, as I did just spot out, is that he does have self-care. He's going to be able to get himself reset, but not if he's in chase. He's been spotted out yet again back at main, and to the filler at 1 we go again. We do see another survivor here rotating. I believe this is Patch playing very nicely around this filler, greeting it as long as possible, avoiding the Kugune tag. This does leave Potential out of enrage, meaning he is so much slower, and with Patch having to play around this rock once more, preventing the bite is all he needs to do. It will mean that our survivors will be slowed down. Hurricane, I'm begging, is on that gen at 8. He is, and it does pop. That is the win secured for NCP in the most dramatic fashion possible, but the game is not over yet. Patch will continue to play out this chase. He wins the 50 on this top mid filler, and it means that he will live. Blazing Moon is finishing their own reset. That does give another healthy survivor on the board, and Patch winning everything on this filler. It's so safe with the amount of ping we're on. Every single vault is perfectly calculated, and Potential cannot get anything from it. We're gonna triple vault this time, and Potential once more cannot swing at anything. I don't really know why we haven't committed to it. Just commit it to a side, Potential. Commit a round. Just make him run instead of trying to win every vault. Oh my god! Patch deciding to win it all. Unfortunately, this time he'll finally be put on the ground. $400, as my man Hunter would say. He's just typed it to me in the DMs to ensure that we won 850s in a row. And this time, I don't know who this is. Blazing Moon will win yet another 2 in a row as we get the stun. That was a very interesting. Does he have last stand? Why did he vault like that? Was that just was that my eyes deceiving me? Can we? What does Blazing Moon have?
I think that was a goofy last stand, because I know they had 5 moves, I believe, from earlier on, but that did seem a bit goofy of
Streamer?
a window vault.
Streamer, can we see Blazing Moon's perks? No. Okay. I don't know. That really looked like he vaulted with a different animation, but I guess it's just me having not looked at Zarina in 86 million years and being quite confused. Speaking of, I think we might have forgotten to turn our game audio on, considering we completely missed Blazing Moon hopping into that locker, but that will be Blazing Moon forcing locker. Patch and Hurricane will be able to get themselves picked back up off the ground, but another hook will come on out onto Blazing Moon top mid for him, and that is right in the middle of our gens, and unfortunately as well, Patch, I believe, here at main has been caught right on out. We do only have the filler here dropped. The filler actually at 2 as well that we dropped a moment ago, and potential now will use the bounds to try and cut him off from the pallet, but to no avail. Patch will once again be safely at a pallet, and considering how it went last time, yeah, it's in Potential's best interest to just break it and get it out of the way, ensuring that Patch won't have any resource to play around. No way we win this vault. I thought he was not going to hit that, but that chase bought enough time for that gen bottom mid to pop. The 4K one has been secured by our survivors. Blazing Moon and Hurricane, the last two on their feet. We see them here running towards the bottom side, and my oh my, what a performance it has been. This game has been an emotional roller coaster for me, Ghosty. I really do not understand what's gone on in the last 10 minutes. I feel like it should have been over by now, but hey, it wouldn't be Dead by Daylight competitive if something didn't go horribly wrong into something going
100%.
hilariously right.
Especially, like, as you mentioned, like, Blazing Moon had an incredibly good chase on that top side, and I was like pretty sure with you, Chief, that the match was going to be over with that chase. Like, that was a beautiful performance for Blazing Moon, but the survivors opted to reset. It was looking a bit like, what are we doing, game? We just need to pop one more gen, and this chase is literally all you need for this. But in the end, we did finally manage to make it to the WinCon for NCP survivors for this set, but it was such a back and forth, simply cinema, as like some people would probably say, moment for this match. With one moment it's one side, one moment it's the other. What the decisions flying through, just so many different things that you wouldn't expect coming through. And a bite onto Hurricane. I didn't even see Hurricane. I'll be so for real. Potential's eyesight way better than mine apparently, and the bite going back into Enraged coming through. But I couldn't agree more. That this is like this second, and this is only like game 2 of set 1. Like, that was a roller coaster of shenanigans happening up until this point, but NCP were able to finally get those gens done to bring it down to what I'm pretty sure everyone, including myself and you, Chief, would expect to see for a result, most likely. If we do manage to pop that last generator, we will get a bit further on, but 4K1 being much more of what you expect, especially since we do also still have a relatively nice 3-gen setup on this top side, but these gens have been kicked a bit, so it's not like we have just these 3 gens with no regression put into place, and unfortunately for Potential, we are back into the position of 50s. Yes, let's get rid of that pallet and not risk Patch earning themselves another $400 with the amount of 50s that were won before, but unfortunately for Patch, that will be all they wrote, and with their bleed out bar being dreadfully low, they unfortunately will be removed from the trial, most likely. Yes, there we do see the bleed out coming through, but due to them being hooked at least once, I believe with Brawn Stiff that is full stages order, and it would not matter since the WinCon has been achieved. But my goodness, this is only game 1 of like the set series, and like, you know, set 2, and all this has happened, and we still have set 2, as you mentioned, I believe was Blight coming up, which Blight as well is another explosive set that everything could potentially happen. And then to clean things off, hopefully a very nice, what you'd expect to see Wesker set, as we do bound onto what is how to find Blazing Moon for our final chase of the trial. Unfortunately, not vaulting the pallet or just attend to 150, since I believe the team is happy that the WinCon has been met. So the 4K1. Let's see Pop.
Let's see Pop. Let's see any other perk.
Let's see anything that is not Pain Res. Let's let Pain Res sit to the side. Like, we saw it in the Ghoul set, that's fine. That's completely chillers. We love to see that. All for that. let's not see it on good old Blight. And yes, we do see Pop has been put in place of Pain Res, so we can officially get started for our second set. Potential returning on Killer for Nyx on the Blight side. So definitely going to be needed to try and put up a good result for the Survivor side of Nyx going into their run of Survivors for the second game of the second set, and try and keep themselves in this match so that we can try and push for that Wesker TB, because I believe, Chief, obviously you are a big fan of Wesker, as I'm sure so many of the Dead by Daylight community are. He's just a great killer. Like, one of the rare W behavior moments of we like Wesker. Wesker's a W killer, but obviously with the restart, it does mean that everything could have changed. Our generators spawns do look to be on the top side with our 4-gen. Ruin, unfortunately, I think for potential does look to be on the bottom side, which, yes, this bottom side 3-gen would definitely be holdable for a killer like Blight. I think you definitely want to be probably trying to play for that top side 4-gen and keep that side of the map more under control, but we're sort of just searching around our bottom side cropped area, trying to find our first chase. Hopefully for our survivors, we will not get caught out while we're doing our map tour rushes, which it doesn't look like we do. So unfortunately for potential, that is all 5 rushes being used, and our power will be down for a short moment as we get our tokens back and recharge our rushes. Unsure what our survivors have managed to get started at the moment, if they have managed to cross over, as we do see Hurricane has managed to cross up to the top side, and there goes our Ruin. So I now know where another one of our survivors were, so we know the location of 2 survivors. A beautiful flare by Hurricane, though, to avoid that rush down on the top side, and now has main building to play as well, which is where you want to be, as I mentioned before in our previous set. Main building against pretty much any killer, I would say, probably excluding Nurse, because obviously she laughs at half of the mechanics of the game. Definitely a good place to be in, but this is in our top side 4-gen, which are our pretty much only uncorrupted gen, so we do probably want to be trying to push towards that bottom side, but unfortunately for Hurricane, after dropping the pallet on the fill pallet on the 11 side, they will be going down. We don't have Pain Res to hook this time, thank the lords. But this is, regardless, a hook in our top side 4-gen, all the way up in the corner of 11, which is a scary hook to be put down for your first hook, but we do see Patch is working one of our bot side 3-gens to at least knock out one of our gens for starting on, and our other 2 survivors are sort of stealthing around, trying to see who can try and poke away at getting Hurricane off that hook. It looks like Blazing Moon was up on our top side and positioning themselves for that pull, but potential is heading straight back up towards our top side. We do swatch the scratch marks as the unhook has been attempted, and no, it is Ashura coming for the unhook onto Hurricane. And beautiful, unfortunately for them, getting tagged though for it, and means that we do have rushes in hand shortly to follow up and try and get a very quick down onto them. And if we get a quick down onto them, this will be once again just another hook in that 4-gen top side, and with that 2 rush down onto them, we will be probably getting dragged back to that 11 corner hook deep in our 4-gen, Chief. This could lead up to some stages for sure, because getting out of this top 11 corner of the map, now not also having those 2 fillers from 11 to 10 available to try and give that distance down to our bottom side, could spell a bit of problems for our survivors.
Yeah, it definitely could, but I want to talk about how well played that interaction on the hook was by Zhua. They were able to prevent a trade by just waiting for the fatigue of potential, using that last swing there to cause the long fatigue, and that did allow the unhook to come out for only a tag, which honestly is kind of game changing. Not forcing a trade there did mean that Zhua, our Delhi survivor, is the one now hooked. Hurricane, injured potential Tunlout, has managed to rotate all the way to the bottom side, and now that one of those gens has been completed, Patch and Blazing Moon will be able to rotate up freely, start working the gens inside of this 4-gen, especially that gen at 1, which we saw was pretty decently progressed, whilst Hurricane just sits pretty on the bottom side and works our remaining bottom generators. I mean, the position right now for our survivors is looking very, very good. That was a very intelligent and honestly impactful play by Zhua, and now we do see that Delhi, as well as the Sprint Burst, able to buy the self-unhook and a bunch of distance towards the mid-map. This filler here will buy us some safety. It's quite a strong filler against the Blight, especially considering he's 4-4 and this side of the rock is completely check spottable. But I think Zhua, yeah, has just quite nicely decided to play around the short side, and now back to the long side. The Jiggy tries to come on out. Instead, we make the pallet vault on the same side as Potential, who will now give Zhua access to the mid-map. And 2 rushes have been used. We can barely make it inside of this RNL, but we will be dead on top of this pallet. I'm not too sure if anybody is here for it, but a quick pick does come on out, and yeah, nobody here to prevent that. But this gen at 4 will be interrupted. Hurricane unable to stick it as the hook does occur right on top of him and that generator. Problems now. Hurricane, another hooked survivor, would mean that Zhua and Hurricane both would be on their death hook as Hurricane takes his tag at 6. Does have Shaq to play around, but hook and a tag onto Hurricane would mean that Zhua would need to be very quickly unhooked, but Potential now in a strong position can protect this generator for a little while whilst committing this chase onto Hurricane and ensuring that Zhua is not unhooked for free. This down exactly what Potential would have needed, but the flick does come out way too wide and Hurricane will escape with their life. Shack Pallet out of the way as 7 does pop, giving Hurricane access to that part of the map. Patch, the person who popped that gen, will now rotate into the mid-map, trying to get this unhook, I'm sure. Blazing Moon on the top side will pop that gen at 1. Finally, the 4 gen has been disrupted, but 3 still remain, and they are quite a good 3 gen still. Unfortunately for Zhua, he might never get off this one hook, but no. Hurricane has something else to say about that instead, taking the trade. That will be Zhua heading towards Shaq, having to last in chase or not get found as Hurricane is now on that hook themselves, and Blazing Moon and Patch, I'm sure, rotating around. One of them needs to get this hook as quickly as possible. Zhua needs to last, and I'm sure the other will be on one of those remaining generators top, hopefully. Not the one main. The split right now is quite unideal if that is the gen to pop, and also unideal is Zhua exiting the trial. 2 generators remaining. Hurricane, also a death hook survivor. Potential set himself up for a very nice 4K if he's able to get another quick kill onto Hurricane.
Oh yeah, and we're kind of noticing a bit of a repeat from our grill set as well, with 2 generators still remaining of the trial, a death now coming through, and if Hurricane does get caught out, could be leading into that similar position, but the difference being, yes, Ghoul is not insanely strong, but quite a strong killer still. Blight does sort of keep Ghoul in their place in terms of, I definitely still would put Blight as a much stronger killer than Ghoul. Like, Blight's S tier for a reason and has held the S tier ranking for pretty much, I'm pretty sure, their entire lifespan in this game. So to get a 4K2 on a killer like Blight does not really surprise me and would not be opposed to seeing it as well, but it all's going to depend on how Blazing Moon takes their chase at main, but unfortunately not having that window there means that their chase is ending much shorter than I'm sure they were hoping it would, putting us into a slug, injure, and 1 healthy survivor with Patch still remaining fresh and uninjured left in the trial, and we are still going to have to try and potentially get Blazing Moon back into things unless our survivors just really want to try and push just to secure that 4th gen of the trial to make it so that even if potentially gets sluggy with it, we at least lock in that 4K1. We hear the progress on this gen very, very high, and I believe we did not have pop to apply to it as well, so we will only be applying eruption onto it as we scout out Shaq to try and find one of our remaining survivors. I think we saw some blood though, so yes, this is unfortunately for our survivors Hurricane, as we do get to pick up on the Blazing Moon in the background. Hurricane is not a survivor we probably want in chase at the moment, because losing them would definitely put our survivors in a bit of a dire strait, but as you mentioned, Chief, this killer now being a 4.4, I believe, killer does make pallets like that filler on the 6 side much, much stronger. And a beautiful dead hard as well, I believe, coming through from Hurricane as well, extending their chase back in towards our 4 side to another very, very safe filler pallet as well. We have a lot to play with right now. We just have to make sure we win this Rush 50. But unfortunately for Hurricane, we don't. A quick vault does secure the death onto Hurricane, but while that did happen, that was enough time for Hurricane to get the 4th generator popping of the trial, putting it down to 1 gen remaining with 2 dead and 2 fresh hook survivors though, so we do have some hook state to sort of play with, and if we do opt to play, like, try and draw a saddle, we could maybe see 1 more gen pop, but looking at the gen spread, we only have really that gen down at 4 and 10 to work, and Potential knows that the gen at 4 was pretty much their only real progress gen that they had to be worrying about, so this is definitely on the table of a 4K1 at this point, as long as we don't slip up and let that gen at 4 get popped. We don't see any survivors working it at the moment. I believe our survivors might be trying to look at a reset onto Blazing Moon, but unfortunately Patch has been called out on our wall of 10 and having to do a big send down towards our 9. We did see some beautiful work from Patch though in the previous game with some amazing 50s, like all of the 50s being won. So maybe we might see that again. Not connecting our rushes there. I would have expected potential to go for a bit of an earlier hit on the initial rush, but does buy Patch more time to make it all the way down to Shack as Blazing Moon does manage to self-reset in the background as well. And now having Shack to play as well, a much more comfortable lip to be playing against the Blight, but a beautiful rush there to get the tag onto Patch, not able to tuck themselves into that box on the corner of Shack enough to avoid the injure. Only having our 7 filler power to play now, but once again, a fairly nice rock filler to be playing. Quite strong indeed. Can Patch win the 50s like they did in the previous set? Unfortunately for them, that will be no. And it is up to Blazing Moon now to try and get Patch back into the game or miraculously get one more gen popped. But with a Slub Survivor, and as we can see, Blazing Moon knows it's probably not going to get a gen pop at this stage. So maybe trying to get Patch back into the game. But this could be a very much drawn out fight at the moment because obviously our survivor side is not going to want to just give in to a 4K1, even though it is understandable. Like at this stage, there's 2 survivors remaining. That gen down to 4 has basically regressed to absolutely nothing. We have to get Patch back into the game, possibly get a reset into them, and as we can see, they don't have any self-resets, so we would have to spend the time resetting Patch without getting spotted by potential, and then look at our gens again. But also them, if they don't want to give up on it, that is completely fine. Obviously, our survivors can play how they would like, and if they really want to try and push for that last gen popping, by all means, send it, lads. But obviously, it's definitely it's looking like a 4K1 here at this point, Chief, because it's Blight. Yes, they've got a pretty decent gen split, but Blight's mobility to be able to bounce between those 2 gens, they will be able to get there in time, and Patch not able to get reset either means that they have no way to get themselves healthy again, so only have that 1 health state, and Blazing Moon, our remaining healthy survivor, has just taken a tag on our bot mid side and has to try and literally bring out the golden chase at this stage, Chief, to buy enough time for that last gen pop, but it's Blight. I'm pretty comfortable to say that this is looking like a 4K1 at this stage.
I mean, Blazing Moon would need to last about an extra minute in this chase, which, to be fair, is doable in Suffer mid. We do have a lot of windows connecting to each other, and this pallet here at 3 is still up. It's going to buy us at least some safety. We're going to try and rush around, but the Jiggy away from the pallet does give us the distance we need. Potential doesn't want any of it anymore, and we'll head over to 10, trying to catch out Patch, who's already sent it away, and not too sure what our killer plans on doing now. We're just trying to catch Blazing Moon out once more. We're trying to play the patience game, catch him out in the rotation, but that does give Blazing Moon all the safety we need. The Jiggy, unfortunately, does not occur. That is Patch spotted by the Eruption Aura. He's sticking the gen because what else is left to do? But the 4K1 is inevitable. That is potential securing a very good result, all things considered, but it was looking a bit scary there for a little while. Nose saying, Patch, no more. You cannot haunt me this set any longer. And that will be potential securing his 4K1 result. Unless he doesn't find Blazing Moon. Blazing Moon could technically crawl off into Narnia, waste another 3 minutes of our time, and that would mean 4K1 tie condition would be eliminated by the fresh bleed out, but no. Blazing Moon decided to stay put once the game over, probably as much as we do on the Casters Lounge to preserve ourselves for the rest of the night. And potential will get this final hook and once again secure his 4K1.
I won't lie. Hopefully 5 generators for them, but also how our killer Mo making a return from the Ghoul set handles the Blight. Obviously still a bit of a mobile killer, so similarities in a way, and a build change as well with Dying Light making an appearance, still with Pop Eruption to have for our regression with Corrupt for our starting game. But it all comes down to how this start goes, in my personal opinion. If we don't have a relatively good chase, it could lead to disasters for our survival side. Unfortunately for potential, our previous Blight does get tagged on our 4 side, but is on a good side of the map where you want to be in the Corrupt area, and now transitioning over to Shack and merely dropping it down to avoid that first down of the trial and potentially a base and hook as well. Champion of Light also coming in, allowing them to jiggy over towards our 7 filler pallet, which is, once again, I'm noticing we're having a lot of fairly safe pallets to be playing for, but unfortunately for potential, a quick 2 rush by Mo does secure the down onto them. And as I mentioned, possibly a basement hook on the near horizon as well, if Mo chooses to do so. Nope, I've been made to look like an absolute fool. We are dragging over towards our 9 side of the map for a hook more towards the mid-map area, which I can understand why we might be going for that. Bit more accessible and not as deep on the side of the map, which we don't want to be defending, because looking at our gens now, it does look like not only do we have a 4-gen, quite possibly a 5-gen top side. That's a bit scary if we do have that generator at 10 and I'm not completely losing my vision, but you know, it looks like we are 5-gen on the top side. That is,
Gross.
I don't know, Chief. That's terrifying.
That's gross. Yeah, I mean, look, Mo has a 5-gen on the top side. He's got his tunnel out already going. Potential's being reset, but Mo is right on back. He's caught out the reset. We're going to hit the BT, so that's our dead hard survivor. Not only do they not only do they not have that health state, but they don't have access to their exhaustion either. Hopefully, Potential has something else in his kit, but concerningly, I want to point out is that, obviously, Potential received a penalty in his killer game, meaning Mo only needs to match the result. A 4K1 would take the win for NCP in the Blight set, but right now, Mo off to a pretty strong start. We're going to be able to potentially get this down onto Potential with the rushes, but Mo just playing it safe, takes the break. Potential, unfortunately, unable to get the blind and Jiggy towards Shaq, so the Z-Wall is what we're left with, and that does mean the 4-4 Fat Chungus Blight will have to play around this nicely, but Life buys us some distance towards Shaq. We try to greed this pallet edge 6 yet again and send it all the way to this corner of 7. That's going to be us on the ground, but that chase has bought us so much time. Main, which was at about 40%, has already climbed back to 75. This is exactly what our survivors needed as they crack away at that 5-gen. L'Oreal, our DS survivor, is set up here on Potential for that unhook now that Deli has been collected by 3Ho, who will be grinding away on those generators. The consolidation for Mo, at least, is that even if we do start losing those gens, Potential, I don't think has too strong of a build for the tunnel. We know he has no DS, he has no second chance perks, so the longer he is committed, the more problematic it's going to be. This top mid gen is also going to get popped, so not really too much of an issue as we lose main. We still have access to 11, 2, and top mid. A nice little 3-gen on the top side, but more flexibly, a 4-gen on the bottom side if we so choose to. Oh, actually, that's not how math works at all, is it, Ghosty? No, we only have 2 gens on the bottom side. I can count. But no, what's so nice is that one of those bottom gens is also in the mid-map, so it's quite flexible. We can kind of just hold the mid-map instead of holding bottom if we do end up losing another top gen, which is most likely. We do see 3Ho back on that top mid gen, however, and losing that right now would prove to be the most troublesome gen to lose. And I don't think Mo's going to have much of a say unless Potential can end up on the ground very quickly. The rushes do come on out. We're going to try an FTP. L'Oreal instead takes the tag. That does buy Potential some extra seconds in chase, but is definitely not the intended outcome. Right now, we do see, I think, Potential trying to get around Mo. Unfortunately, his rush is not on mark, meaning he will live for that stun. We do know that 3Ho is on that gen. Mo will make it all the way, sorry, rather Potential will make it all the way to main as Mo has to play around this safe filler. Right now, it's going to prove to be oh so difficult. We walk right on through and that puts Potential on the ground instead. The dead hard comes on out and that means we'll last another few seconds. 3Ho's gen in the mid-map will be popping. We're not going to walk through this time. That gives Potential another greed around. This time walking through yet again. The swing will not come on out. We do not have enough distance, my friend, but instead we swing, get the stun. It's Champions of Light to slow us back down. Potential is doing more than enough right now. We see 3Ho coming in to help protect the president. He might take a tag for it as Potential is stuck all the way at 1. The swing through comes on out, but it does not connect. 3Ho here is instead going to act as another pallet as Potential jiggies around this rock. The rushes will eventually mean our end, but right now LZY will be popping the 3rd gen of the trial. It might be that gen top mid. We also see somebody on that gen at 2. It's so highly progressed. I don't know how much is left. Instead, rather, it was that gen at 2 that popped. Top mid has been abandoned. Potential's on the ground. Mo, I don't know if you have time to pick this. LZY's gen is 80%. I think we needed to slug to be able to protect that generator, because although we haven't tied just yet, a 4K1 is still a win in favor of Mo, but yeah, I'm going to say, I'm sure we have so much progress. That chase was way longer than what we needed. Unfortunately, Mo unable to do enough. That's 3 stages on the board, all generators having popped. Knicks have taken the set.
Honestly, very well played by Nyx, especially with that setup that Mo did have on hand with the 5-gen top side, the fact that they were able to not only dismantle that top side 5-gen, but get it all the way to the point of we are looking at outs at this stage as well. Unfortunately for LZY, may not be one of our survivors that do make it out unless our survivors get a bit altruistic and decide, you know what, we want everyone remaining out. Potential cooked up the storm and managed to essentially secure us that win condition, so we want to make sure we're getting every other body remaining in the trial out, but also would mean that we need to not only get a gate prepped / open, but we also need to get LZY back in the trial. Caster's Curse, I absolutely love it as LZY does get picked back up. And Lyriel has the shack to play it, but a crazy little firecracker does come through, meaning that poor Mo unfortunately has to fatigue, only having to use, I think that was 1 or 2 rushes, so will have rushes back up very, very quickly, but we are winning some nice 50s here from Lyriel to make this chase at shack extend quite nicely, and if we are on the gates, we could be looking at a hatch coming through very shortly. Hopping back into the locker once again, timing the exiting locker very nicely to get out of shack, but we don't have any resources with pallets or any form of wood left over. LZY disappearing out of nowhere from shack, vaults in the window mid-chase with Lyriel, but obviously Mo does not want to continue on to them. They are going to commit onto Lyriel, trying to bait out the drop on the hill with the rushes, but unfortunately will have to fatigue, meaning Lyriel can make it towards this midsection of the map, but unfortunately does not make the right pathing call and run straight into Mo's loving embrace, meaning we'll be getting a 4th stage onto the board. And if our remaining side is decide to take the outs, that will be 4 stages, or 6 stages totaling for Mo, but it looks like they're still hungry for more at the moment. They don't want to give those extra stages for free. I believe we don't have that bottom side gate open yet, though, which is a little bit concerning. LZY being caught off on our loss, but a beautiful flare means they do manage to get the unhook, but it's going to be a trade, meaning this is another fresh hook potentially for Mo if they decide to just take this pick onto LZY, but it also looks like we are going to be trying to hold Lyriel on this bottom side, since I believe Mo's identified that it's just our top side gate that has been opened, so we only have to burn 15 seconds of the BT. Lyriel now vaults in the window to try and make it up towards that more top side, but the BT should be over at the moment, and it unfortunately is, so this means that LZY and Lyriel are both sludged, leaving 3Ho, our remaining survivor, up and active. We do see the scratch marks, I believe it would be from 3Ho, on our bottom 6 side, but I think we're playing a bit too aggressive for the best result here, gamers. We are 2 slugged with 1 remaining survivor, another fresh hook for Mo now being put onto the board, and we are heading straight back up towards Lyriel, finding 3Ho, but a nice little flare around means they will be able to get the pickup, but we will need to take this protection hit as 3Ho identifies as well. Very well played by them, and it looks like we are going to try and get the unhook onto LZY. We do know that 3Ho is the Deliverance player, and unfortunately not getting the hit onto 3Ho means that we do get the unhook onto LZY, so they get to make a bit of a jiggy towards the gate, and we know that Deli is still in play, so 3Ho is chilling at this point. As long as our remaining 2 survivors don't just leave the trial, they can just self-unhook and go for a hatch, but LZY's got to still make it to that top side gate, running straight into Mo to avoid the rush down, but winning the 50 on the window, meaning that they do manage to get a jiggy, sort of staring down Mo on that long wall. I can't remember what those tiles are called, Chief. I won't lie. There's so many different names for different tiles. I cannot remember what it is, but getting the pickup also onto 3Ho as well, giving them another leash on life as they decide to try and hold shack and allow LZY and I believe Lyriel to try and send it all the way out to the top side and get to that gate that is open. Unfortunately, they will be going down, and they have also managed to get the gate down on the nice side open as well. So if Mo does take this hook onto 3Ho, they can just deli themselves for a hatch play, and I think we also did just see plot twists come through from LZY, so I don't think our survivors are done yet, but they are also running out of time as well. We will not have enough time to get 3Ho out of the trial at this stage. They're trying to wait as long as they can to try and give them the hatch. Both survivors look to be edging the exit gate of the trial, but Mo picks up 3Ho, and that will secure 8 stages? Yeah, 8 stages full fresh. Very good result for Mo, considering that it isn't the win condition that we're needing, but overall still a very nice old Tower 1. A beloved set for a lot of, not only our viewers, but a lot of the Dead by Daylight community. And a very fun and enjoyable one overall. Good map, Great killer. Just, smiles all around. We love to see it. And NCP will be taking the first match. And as Chief mentioned earlier on, Mo is the Wesker gamer performing for NCP and on a much more comfortable killer for themselves. So I'm very excited to see what they have on the table for us and what they can bring into this match. And I'm already seeing something that anytime I see it, I'm always giggling on the inside like a kid in a candy store. Turn back the clock. I cannot say it enough how much I love the perk. Don't see it too often on Wesker, I believe. Usually you would be seeing more like brutal, your general aggression with corrupt. But overall a very nice build, and also no eruption this time around, favoring that turn back to clock, pop, and pain res regression combination, which makes sense since they're counter synergies with eruption and turn back. And as I'm yapping on about perks, we've had a beautiful bound onto potential. I'd like to say MVP from the previous set with their previous test, securing the win for NYS and pushing it into the tiebreaker. Very well played by them, but Mo is happy with just a nice little infection hit and interstate onto potential as they cross back up to the top side and catch off two survivors, LZY, and I believe that was 3 again on our top side, while Lyriel has been left to still crank out our first motor, hopefully pop in the trial soon, but Mo has unfortunately for Team Next interrupted them, meaning that Lyria will have to try and send the chase towards, I would assume, the bot side, since Corsair 1 is very devious for having very top-side generators. Unfortunately for Mo, not connecting that bound onto Lyriel. Looks like we're going to be dropping that and not committing to that too hard. I think, if I'm not mistaken, we may have had a pallet also thrown at the 5 side. Could be mistaken by that, but yes, if that was thrown, unfortunately, to no gain for Lyriel, but have managed to get our resets in. Potential will be looking at getting some sprays happening as we are now red, and you don't want to be red against Wesker being instantly grabbable if caught out. Lyriel being found on our 10 side, but I don't think there'll be collision. No, unfortunately, just threading the needle in between the pallet, meaning that it will only be an infection onto LZY. Potential still not spraying it though, which concerns me a little bit, since you just don't want to be red. Red bad, just like I'm pretty sure everyone's hatred for see red blink red nurse, you just don't want to be red against this killer, and potential has been called out on our top side, so will be insta-grabbable if Mo manages to get, and does, so we don't have that benefit of the extra health state and are getting instantly grabbed by power into an immediate pain res hook on the top side front main. What a start though, Chief. First gen has popped, we have our first hook on the board in a very optimal spot, and I have to say Mo is definitely already putting on a show, but the survivors are definitely holding their own overall as the unhook onto potential comes through, since you don't want to be caught up in that top side 4-gen, especially on that front main hook as well.
Yeah, I want to very quickly talk about Mo's start, because he decided to play very split, I guess is the word I want to use. He decided to try and get 2 free... Hello, LZY. Alright, buddy. So that was not what Mo wanted, but it's what Mo was gifted. Another free down onto LZY has secured yet another pain res and a hook in a pretty ideal situation. But what I was going to talk about was the fact that Mo decided to play very hit and run on MM, which on a lower tier killer like this, you can't really afford to do, and we are now seeing the fruits of that. That gen at 4 popped. We have another gen that 3-ho is on at very high progress. The gen on logs there is also so close to popping, and it was all because after getting that first tag onto Potential, we decided to leave, and Potential bought himself so much time in that chase. And something I wanted to talk about with his chase is we saw him drop a cracker, get a bunch of aura. How'd that happen? Well, this is one of my favorite things in the game. I actually made sure we pushed to have this included streetwise. Whenever you deplete an item, aka with your cracker, drop it on the ground, you get 8 whole seconds of aura on the killer, and Potential also has the perk Flashbang, meaning he can do that after sitting a gen for 40% of its progress. That's a lot of time with aura on the killer. I believe he also has alert, which is really, really cool. A really cool combination of wall hacks near constantly on the killer whenever you need it. If he had a cracker right here, he could just drop it and send it because he'd know exactly where Mo is at all times. It's very, very fun, very, very cool, and very glad to see it getting some use, but unfortunately for Potential, I don't think his perks are going to save him from this down. That's a second hook onto him coming on out for the cost of a 3rd generator. If that one top mid does pop, Potential is the only survivor that has been pain res so far, so this hook at 10, despite being a Scourge, will not interrupt that gen top mid, and because of that, L'Oreal will be able to complete the generator. Although, Consolidation for Mo. He still has 2 gens left in the trial, but considering how split they are, I don't think the position Mo is in is going to be the most ideal moving forward. He's definitely looking to play for only outs. I mean, for only stages at this point. I think a 4K is well out of the picture unless a few downs are gifted to him, much like what we saw LZY do at that tile at 5, but that does require not just one more, but maybe 2 or 3, and potential to be one of them right away, although I don't think Mo is going to be able to head on back in time. Instead, we're committing to LZY on the bottom side of the map. L'Oreal did scream at that gen at 7 as turn back the clock hit it, and in the meantime, LZY will take a bound. Forced to 3 now, he will have to last in this chase. No eruption to interrupt these gens any longer. The bounds do come out. LZY narrowly able to avoid it, but Mo instead will block the pallet, and that will leave LZY on the ground. We are able to once again get another hook. Another Death Hook Survivor. Mo loves to do this, playing for 2 tunnel outs at the same time. It's a very high risk, high reward strategy because it allows you to force that 2v1 pretty early on, and now that LZY has finally been able to be pain resisted, L'Oreal's gen at 8 has been interrupted once more. Mo, now discovering that the progress on these top gens doesn't really exist. He needs to worry about only that gen at 7. It's the only gen that I think has a lot of progress right now in the trial, and fortunate for Mo is that he can go and pop it right away. It's the strength of the amount of regression he has L'Oreal. Instead, turn-backing it so he can be in pursuit of L'Oreal. Seeing the turn-back, he will be forced to play this tile at 8. At least it is a jungle gym. And to the window, we agreed. The pallet's still here, but we have to run around it some more. Instead, heading to this pillar at 9. Mo will read the movement quite nicely, use the bounce to connect and get a tag, and committing L'Oreal is his preferred option. Again, another Death Hook Survivor left to be reset freely by 3ho. Definitely not what I would have expected. I would have assumed Mo would have wanted to get a tunnel out of the game, but I think he understands that at this point the pain reses are going to be oh so valuable. He can go and get potential or LZY dead whenever he needs. And now 3ho potentially rotating for that gen at 1, getting some progress on the top side of the map. We do see some scratch marks leading around main. It is towards the hill here. Could be 3ho, who's now being forced off that gen as well. We spot out LZY once more in the tile at 3, and he has to do his best to last Ghosty.
Oh yeah, like at this stage, a 4K is still very detrimental for Mo. If we get a quick chase onto LZY, could potentially bring things back into possibilities of a 4K, but I think Mo made a good decision with playing into these pain races and at least making sure that we do have all of these fresh hooks secured. But unfortunately for LZY, they're not able to really make much out of that 2 little TNL, which is TNL against the Wesker. It's not the most greatest loop to be playing. And we'll be leaving the trial now as our 4th gen does pop on the bot side. I believe that was our gen. No, that was not our gen down at 7. That was our more bottom mid 5 side gen. So we know that this is our only gen now with progress, but as we saw before, the split is real. We have the main building, the gen at 1, and this gen all the way down here at 7. So I believe 3ho will be looking at playing very, very stealthy, as we definitely want to try and deny that last pain res. Unfortunately, we have caught out the reset though, which is not ideal for our survivors if we are still wanting to try and hard push for these outs, but 3v1 at 1 gen, still a good position to be in for our survivors, and we do see 3ho is still cranking the final gen potentially of the trial if they are able to secure it. Mo identifying that this chase is probably going for, I need to probably just have a quick little squiz just to make sure no one's been hard pressuring the generator with under their sneaking suspicion. 1 does have a bit of progress now, but unable to find who was working it, and I think this is where a bit of problems come into a little bit, because unfortunately for 3ho, they have been caught out, do have a very nice filler palette on the 9 side to play, compared to what you can get sometimes on the cold tower. Mo playing for the bound tag. Unfortunately for 3ho, will be getting that tag and infection as they send it up towards our top mid side, but Mo is also concerned about this gen down at 7. It has been eyed off by our survivors for a good amount of time during this trial, starting to get some progress built up on it, and we don't have pop anymore, unfortunately. Our turnback and pop have expired, so we won't have pop to apply to this generator, so it will just be a raw kick since no eruption, since we've opted for that turn back the clock. So if we have a relatively good chase here by Lyrial, we could see that last gen popping. Finesse on the window, buying them plenty of safety, even without that Shack pallet, I believe, been spent earlier on in the trial. And Mo is not taking chances at the moment with an extended chase down at Shack when we know that this gen at 1 has also been eyed off by our survivors as well. But the split is just one of those splits of how do you manage to like hold it? And I think that was actually our main gen popping as well. So progress on all 3 generators in a 3v1. I don't think you normally would expect a split to be happening in that situation, Chief. I'd be probably a bit more inclined to see a double up happening just to get it out that bit quicker. And a very quick gate opening as well. That gate is looking to be 99 already. I'm wondering if Wake Up might be coming into play. I'd be very shocked if it wasn't, because damn, that was a very quick insta 99 almost. But does mean that we have one of our gates prepped to most parts. We are unintentionally 99ing in the big 26, but Lyrial needs to last, because if we get basement hooked here, it does mean that we will lose that access to that gate, since we can go into a basement hook, or if we do have the hook over by a 7-disc hook next to this bot site gate and secure both another kill potentially and holding that bot site gate, opting to go for that small central bot mid hook for death hook onto Lyrial. I see what you mean, Chief, with like the Mo being very high risk, high reward with the multiple death hook survivors, almost on the verge of playing friendly, fair killer, but with the sighting on that top side gate, we know that it's just this bottom side gate opened. 2 healthy survivors. 1 though is infected, meaning that 3ho won't be able to come in to support the unhook and attempted escape for Lyrial until they spray Caster's Curse. I absolutely love it to death. Spray coming through from 3ho to remove that infection, bringing them back into this to try and potentially look at getting Lyrial off the hook, but no, it looks like our survivors are happy with this result. Still very high stages though, Chief, but the 4K definitely was P. Mo putting up a very nice result with, from memory, the 8th stage, 3 fresh put onto the board, meaning that Knicks need the 9 stages with 4 fresh if needed to take the tiebreaker and win our match. So potential returning to try and seal the deal for the team for the tiebreaker, and a very quick finding of Blazing Moon starts a very strong setting for potential. Definitely a start you want to have. With the result put down, Mo did put up a performance, but got those fresh hooks in with the pain rays played into nicely. But this is a very, very quick down for potential to start things off. Pain rays in the bank as well if they choose to do so, but with such a quick down, may not need to put one on the board this early on. Looking towards that water tower, so may just opt just to cash it in early if our survivors have been very jumpy on the generators. We see the token consumed, so we know that there is gen progress on the board, but this is definitely not the start you want to have if you are the NCP or NCP survivors. NCH, sorry. I apologize. I am so brain tired at the moment. And just like my fellow staff members said, we still have more to go. Patch now being caught out on that 10 side, also being bound hit onto as well on that 10 Orman tile, so they will be taking the infection and the tag as the unhook onto Blazing Moon comes through, and potential is straight on their case, wants to try and secure that tunnel out as soon as possible. And at 5 gens up on the board still, an early Deathlock survivor will be disastrous for our survivor side. Does have Shack, but unfortunately will not make it through, and does get grabbed by the bound into a basement hook. Problems, team. Very, very big problems. Very much a traditional build that I'm noticing as well from potential, with the brutal strength coming back into play. No turn back the clock, crying a little bit on the inside, I'll be so for real, but alongside our typical gen regression, eruption coming back as well. And corrupt, as we saw at the start, to keep our 3 closest gens under wraps, which does look to be that 2, 11, and main side gens. So it does look like we have a bit of a similar top side gen situation, but this gen 2 also has a lot of progress. Nope, I am wrong. We are 4 gen on the bot side with a basement hook as well. That is definitely not what you want to be seeing if you're our survivor side, and puts potential in a relatively good spot. Patch has unfortunately gone red as the first generator does pop of the trial, and will need a reset as well. But it looks like potential is just sort of lurking around this gen over on the 2 side to make sure no survivor sneaks up and gets back onto it quickly. As we can see though, Shura has managed to sneak back onto it very quickly, while Potential does go back down to our basement to make sure no one snuck in to try and get Blazing Moon out, as they get ever so close to being removed from the trial at 4 gens remaining. Oh, I swear, I crash out internally when Caster's Curse comes in, but my previous statement of Blazing Moon, unfortunately, being removed from the trial does come into fruition, Chief, as they are eliminated with 3 gens of the trial still remaining. 6 stages needed to take the set. What are your thoughts so far?
I mean, look, obviously that death onto Blazing Moon was far too early for our survivors. They realistically needed a survivor performance at the level we just saw from Nyx. They really couldn't afford to have a tunnel out occur at all if they wanted to get the, I believe it's actually 7 stages they required for the win. This throw onto Patch is definitely going to not add any favors to our side. We need to last in this chase, agreed on the red card. Does mean we're at least not forced to play 50s on a dropped pallet, which does give us some safety potential. Using his bounds to no effect, Patch will be able to greed towards tile 2, and this 4 lane will be abandoned as we head towards 3. Another RNL to play around, and pallet will be in our favor now as we drop it. Have to play 50s. Patch actually sends the vault around. That was potentially quick and quiet. I didn't hear it at all. No, in fact, actually, I think my audio was just bugged, but Lyth does bias the distance around, and Potential doesn't care about how much distance you have because the bounds do come out and get the down regardless. It's going to be our fourth hook of the trial and another pain rest to interrupt whatever progress we may still have. But concerningly is that the last generator top at main was popped by Hurricane. That was leaving us with only the 4 gen on the bottom side. Very, very problematic for our survivors in this 3v1, especially considering that the only progress we do have down here is on Shack, which is so close by to this hook. And realistically, Potential doesn't need to move from here at all. The 2-man save would guarantee the end of the game in this 3v1, and allowing Patch rather, to die on this hook is 6 of the 9 stages required for him to win. At this point, Potential's rather playing for an aggressive stance. He wants to get this tag under Hurricane and force that early unhook from Zhua. Patch now off that hook, and Potential will be right back on his trail. We see his scratch marks heading towards 4 instead, leaving this filler and back to 5. We have only matchsticks to play around as Shack Pallet is available, but I'm not sure Potential will allow us to get that far away from this tile. The window vault will be our first option, but we've been slapped right on through it, and that will be Patch once again back on the ground. We can hook him even deeper now into that 4 gen, and the situation is just getting more and more dire for our survivors. Hurricane injured now on the top side. We know that Zhua has to be on Shack, considering it's the only gen with progress, and once again, Eruption can be applied to it to make sure that gen is not going to get any much closer to popping, and Hurricane in a bit of a sticky situation. Definitely needs to be trying to pressure one of these gens. Cannot do so safely, especially considering that the only generator he can really be working is this one at 7, and stuck here now despite the fact this filler is quite safe. The MM will have a decent enough time playing around it. The length of that long side with the gen and the hook, although normally a God Pallet does mean that Potential's bounds are that bit more lethal. The pallet now broken means that Hurricane rather is only left with the edge map, but the throw does secure his fate. That's going to be our 6th hook of the trial. 3 more needed for Potential to take this, and another pain res to slow down those generators. We're going to drag him back to that bottom mid hook, and in that time our survivors Patch and Zhua have decided to get reset. Patch now healthy, at least a better position than we were in moments ago, but Patch cannot afford to be caught out of position anymore. Zhu is going to rotate back for his gen at Shack, I'm sure, and Patch now spraying himself at main, making sure that infection isn't hampering him in his chases, and it's going to be quite difficult now. We're going to look to be in the exact same scenario we were just in. Somebody pressuring 7, someone pressuring Shack, and allowing that unhook to come out whenever somebody is in chase. Right now, Zhua in chase a bit earlier than expected from our survivors. Patch will need to be rotating quite aggressively, and I think Potential is well aware of that fact. The unhook does come out, but it comes at the cost of a tag onto Patch. He's going to get thrown. I'm sorry, just M1'd rather, and a throw could be following as the bounds do come on out. We're able to make it around this filler just in time because of Lyth, and to main building we go. If anyone is going to be able to last now, it will be Patch. We've seen what he's been able to do today, and with main building as his resource available, I'm sure he's going to be able to try his hardest. But right now, problematic is stuck on the red cart yet again. The pallet isn't dropped, so it's more 50s to go. Potential doesn't run through this time. Patch will greed, and that does give him some extra distance. We do it yet again. A wonderful greed once more does buy him some distance around. This time we will drop it, anticipating the fact that we might send it on through. Potential, though, now with the pallet dropped, is forced to play 50s. The swing does coming out. That will be Patch on the ground, and there's nothing we can do. The 2v1 will come out. Patch left to be hooked.
Relatively good death spot overall though, Chief. Unfortunately, Patch was not able to give us the God Masterclass 50s on the car pallet, and unfortunately will be exiting the trial. And poor Hurricane has to send it all the way up to the 9 side. Manages to avoid the M1 on our 9 filler, and we will be copying a pallet stun for potential, but only having this mid filler on the top side to play does put a lot of pressure onto our survivors, and most likely will be securing the set for next. The red of the infection also coming through onto Hurricane, meaning they have been hindered, so are not able to play that tile or that filler palette as you would normally play it without that hinder status fed, leaving poor Shura by them low themselves, trying to crank that Shackdown, which they do manage to pop as they stare intimately into Wesker's loving sunny eyes as the 4th gen of the trial does pop. But unfortunately for them, that will be all they wrote. 4K1 for potential secured, and I believe that is the match awarded to Nyx. Very good performance by potential. Mo definitely didn't have the greatest start, but definitely pulled it back up and put up still a reasonably good result, but potential wanted this match for Nyx. So a very nice 4K1 overall, and I feel a bit bad for Hurricane as well. I think that was the 2nd time I saw them in this trial going red, which has been red against Wesker is scary. You never want to see a red survivor against the Wesker, but